Everyone, welcome to the Art Show on Moving On TV. And today I have got a very special guest, Francis Kenny. Hi Francis.
Hi, Lauren.
It's really good to have you here.
Alright, sure.
Francis is, let me see, a director, a technical advisor because you do lights and sound.
Yeah.
You play the keyboard, you play the guitar, you compose, and you also play the violin.
Yeah.
So, where did this all start? What was how old were you when you first started performing or playing,
I think
becoming
maybe
a
I was
musician?
about 6 or 7. I started on the guitar and the violin, and then I started on the piano a bit later, just playing chords and stuff like that, and making out melodies and stuff like that. And just always loved music. Always loved music, and it's such a healer, you know. If you've had a really bad day and you can pick up the guitar or pick up, you know, just play something on the piano or work something out, you know. I just think it's a great thing to do, to be able to learn to play something.
So how old were you when you say you actually started? When was your first performance that you performed live, would you say?
Well, when we were at primary school, we used to have sort of like little music groups where you'd have people who play the recorder and the violin and the piano, and we'd all have the music out there, and for assemblies we'd do like little skits, you know, we'd do green sleeves or something like that, and you know, and everyone would play together, and you know, like a little orchestra maybe. And then as I got into secondary school, it was like everyone was playing the piano or playing the violin, and now, and in those days when I was growing up, they had parapathetic teachers where they would actually teach you the violin or teach you the guitar, and you wouldn't have to pay for it, but they don't have that nowadays, which was a blessing really. You know, it was a real blessing, so anyone could, you know, if anyone who was interested could pick up an instrument off the school and learn how to play it. And
wonderful.
It was brilliant.
It's a shame they don't have that.
Yeah, it's such a shame.
So what about your family? Do you have any musical influences at all in your family?
Well, maybe from my Irish side, there's, I think one of my uncles plays the accordion.
Right.
And I think quite a few of them can play certain things. So I think it comes from maybe my dad's or my mum's side of the family. You know, they're quite musical, so I think that's maybe where it comes from.
Wonderful. I mean, I've been lucky that you've actually directed me years ago in Blight Spirits, and which was an absolutely fantastic experience. But did you ever have any formal training to direct or to do technical side of theatre in any way?
No, I didn't have any formal training. I have done tech stuff before, but just helping out assistant stage manager, where you do the props and you know, you mark out the masking plots and make sure that people have their props and stuff like that. Done a bit of lighting before with Questers, but it's mostly amateur that I've done. You know, I've not done semi-professional or professional.
So I've seen some books here, like for dummies, different things like screenwriting for dummies, and so you actually teach yourself all these things.
Yeah, I like to teach that. That's how I learned a lot of the music that I taught myself. I taught myself the piano. Once you get to know the chords, basic chords in C, F and G and maybe D, like on the guitar, if you learn them on the piano, you can play a lot of songs. You can play a hell of a lot of songs. You know, because a lot of the songs in the charts, and maybe even from the 60s, 70s, 80s, the chords weren't that complicated. So once you learn the basic chords, you can learn the songs as well, you know.
Sure, and you also compose your own music, don't you?
Yeah. Which
is great. So what are your influences? Where do you get your ideas from, or who inspires you?
I don't know, I'm inspired a lot by instrumental music. I like New Age music, and I like composing New Age music because I don't know, there's something, I don't know if this is true, but they say something about theta waves, that in instrumental music like classical or New Age or any sort of instrumental music, there's a wave that comes from the music that calms you down. It's like sometimes they compose music for yoga or aerobics or anything for dance, for ballet, and something in the music, the wave of the music, the theta wave, calms you down, and I think it's really good for your mental health.
Sure.
That if you can access instrumental music, something without words, because with the words comes thoughts, but if you're listening to a nice calming instrumental music, maybe piano, violins or something like that, there's a wave that comes on you and there's no lyrics, so it's just a feeling you get, a feeling of well-being, of calmness when you hear the music, and that's what inspired me to write instrumental music.
How wonderful. But you also do lyrics. I mean, you did the most beautiful lyrics and also the music to the Little Women pilot that we did
that was
while
great.
Father is away. I mean, again, where do you get your inspiration to write this kind of poetry? Because it is very, very creative.
I hadn't seen Little Women, but I'd seen bits and read bits and saw bits, and it was like a group of women, like a family, and they were mucking in, getting things done together while Daddy's away, and that's what inspired the song. It was like all these things are happening, sometimes terrible, sometimes happy, and they were just getting on with it, and he was working, he was never there, so they had to get on with it, and that's what inspired me to write the lyrics. Maybe it's through the strength of a woman, the strength of the family to keep them together.
Beautiful, yeah. So what is it you haven't done yet in theatre? Anything that you feel that you still like to do, that you're still aspiring to do?
I'd like to do a musical. I'd love to do a musical or a pantomime.
Have you done pantomimes at all?
I'd like to
Have
write.
you been in pantomimes?
I was in one. I wrote one years ago.
What's that called?
We toured. It was called The Show with No Budget.
Okay.
And it was about this, because it had no budget. The show had no budget.
Tell me about it.
The show with no budget.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
So we had to make So we toured around a couple of schools and did this show, and it was about Dr. Death, and he was taking over television for his own evil ends and trying to hypnotise everyone, and and there was a group who were trying to combat him and catch him out, and send him off to the police or whatever and stuff like that.
Did you write all the music for it?
I wrote the music and the script as well, but that was so much fun, because it wasn't it wasn't like a serious piece. It was like it was just a bit of fun, and we had some songs in it and stuff like that, and the guys did brilliant.
So did you orchestrate it as well? Do you orchestrate music as well for different instruments?
I can do, but I'm learning how to do it. You can get scores off the internet and stuff like that. You can get free scores, but then there's other programs you can get, like Sibelius and stuff like that. And there's a wealth of stuff out there to help you. If you're interested in music, and it's so nice nowadays to write it as well. To put it down on a piece of paper and say, right, I've done that, and now let me look at it and see if I can play it, instead of saying, okay, we'll just do the chords. And that's what I'm getting more, because I was always a chord person, but now I'm learning more to read a bit more, because I was never classically trained as a pianist. I'd always taught myself, so I'm now trying to teach myself how to properly read it and have a go and stuff like that.
Well, it's very exciting as well, because you're going to be playing for Love Conquers All, for the Piaf show that we're doing. We're debuting it tomorrow at the Bath Fringe. And how do you feel about that? Because I know you love Piaf's music.
It's a great show. You're great in the show. It's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. And like as they say, Lauren, it's like it's the music that it's the way you play her, but it's also the music collaborated with the drama of her life. That is it feels so real when you're there. It's like you're in a living room and you're talking to her, and she's letting go of everything,
But how do you feel about being in the show? Because this is actually your show now.
I'm honoured to
your show about Francis Kenny. So how do you feel about being involved involved in playing that amazing, because it is amazing music,
Yeah,
especially Hymn l'Amour.
Yeah.
It all comes from a very, very deep place, doesn't it, with Piaf?
Yeah. I'm honoured to be in the show actually, but I'm very nervous because it's the first proper professional gig that I've done really, so I'm going to look at my music tonight and make sure we have a lot of practice tomorrow, and hopefully.
But when you say a professional gig, I mean, I've known you for years and years, and I've always seen your talents are so amazing. When you say professional, does that mean you've never actually been, you know, when you've been, what is professional? What's the difference? Because to me there's really no difference between professional and amateur. The talent is talent, isn't it?
I think there's a lot of people out there that do it for the love of it, you know, and that's what I've always done. Years ago I was in the Crescent Theatre, and it was only bit parts I was getting, but like you were helping out with the props, you know, you're doing tech stuff and stuff like that, and it's just as important, you know, because that theatre has to run as well, you know, and people come back year after year to watch productions, you know, because they, you know, sometimes, I don't know, maybe in an amateur production there's more enthusiasm, so there's a different sort of vibe, you know, but it's you know, it's just as good as a professional production because people have put their heart and soul into it, you know, and enjoy doing it, so that at the end of the day there's not really that much difference between amateur and professional. It's just one gets paid and one does it for the love. You know.
Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
Right. So, considering you do a lot of different things, and you're an all-rounder, you know, which is incredible, really. What's your favourite thing? What would you say stands out to you? Like, some people like the singing, some people like the acting, because if you do everything, what would you say actually stands out for you?
It's the singing.
The singing.
The singing, and there's a concert coming up at church because I play for a church choir as well.
Oh, okay.
And I've got a chance to do 2 songs. One's Hallelujah, which they do a lot on Britain's Got Talent and X Factor. But I'm doing the Jeff Buckley version because there's an extra verse about Marvel Arch, and I've written a new song called He Will Come.
Wow.
It's basically taken from the Easter story in the Bible, but it's linked with, they talk about Jesus coming for the second coming. Okay. And that's what the song's about. It's about his death and resurrection, his ascension, and his coming again, and that's what the song is called, He Will Come, with a choir of angels.
Do you play that on the piano?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're going to play that for us?
I could do.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I want to hear that. And you wrote it?
Yeah, I wrote it.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to have a little break now, but we're going to come back and we're going to watch Francis play He Will Come.
He Will Come.
He Will Come, which is a new production, a new song that he's written, and is going to play for us on the piano in part 2. Thank you.
Pay the money and go. It's really good.
And get the CD. It's the best show I've seen.
For a long time.
Wonderful show. The singing was absolutely beautiful.
Lauren basically is Edith Piaf. Please go and see.
Watch and pray, no one knows the hour of the coming of the Lord in our hearts. He will take his cup of suffering and say, "All will be done." I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above, entire and whole and perfect, the service of his love. Simon held up his holy cross for you. He was crucified on Golgotha Mount, and the sky was filled with darkness. For the King of heaven there was no sound. He will come with a choir of angels and bring hope for eternity. He will come and bring salvation and peace to humanity. Eloi lama sabachthani. He was really the Son of God. On the third day he rose again, and the angel rolled his stone away. He ascended into heaven and is seated at God's right hand. He will come again in glory and spread peace throughout the land. He will come with a choir of angels and bring hope for eternity. He will come and bring salvation and peace to humanity.
Today we're with Francis Kenny, and we just heard Francis sing that beautiful composition, which was a mix of He Will Come, which was the new hook that you've written about the resurrection, and I Vow to Thee, My Country. So how did you actually write that? How did you put it together? Were you inspired by I Vow to Thee, My Country, and then thought, I'm just going to add a really exciting hook to it?
I think basically how it started was I had an idea for a song, an Easter song, and I looked through the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, at all the accounts of what happened to Jesus when he was put to death, and I made the verses, and I had a hook that for the chorus when I wrote the chorus, but then I realised it was very similar to I Vow to Thee, My Country. It was just, it went up or it went down. So I thought I'd incorporate I Vow to Thee, My Country as one of the choruses as well. There was another one I was going to add into it, which was World in Union, but that's copyrighted, so that, you know, you can't add it in, whatever. But it was inspired by that melody, the song was, and by what I've read in the Bible about the resurrection, and because it's quite sad when you read it in the Bible what happened to him through all this agony in the garden, everything.
So you tap in, you use that, and the music comes through, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it inspires you and helps you write better music, you feel?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you've got something to work from, if you've got like an image or an emotion or something happened to you, or like emotional recall, or like literature, or something you've seen or something you've experienced, I think it's just like writing poetry, really.
Sure.
And just poetry with rhyme, maybe, you know, and I think it's important for everyone to write a poem now and again, you know, because if you think, you know, you've been at work or something terrible's happened, or you're just not feeling well, and you just pick up a pen or play a chord, or, you know, it's such great therapy for you, you know.
So I'm just going to stop there and check that it's recording. Yes, it is. It's okay, I will cut it. I'll be cutting it around. So coming back to what we were saying, so have you written harmonies for this piece of music? Are you going to get a choir to do all the harmonies in the background?
That is a possibility, because the harmonies won't be that hard to do, really. I mean, you could have it as a three-parter, have a higher part and a lower part as well. But what I really want to do with it is orchestrate it, because it's not that hard to orchestrate. Maybe some strings, a bit of woodwind, a nice beat as well. I always like the 80s films where you had that reverb beat, the slow one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and work on how to do that.
Okay.
So it's like you get the trumpets in the distance, but you've also got the slow beating. That's the sort of idea that I'd like for it.
Incredible.
You know, a slow sort of ballad with a beat.
So
sort of thing.
do you use Sibelius when you would arrange? Is that what you would use?
I haven't used Sibelius, but I've got a program called Crescendo,
Okay.
which is okay. I'm still getting to grips with it, but if you work on something again and again, you get to grips with it.
Of
and
course.
you know, and there's always PDF manuals there, whatever you do. I've got a new program for music as well, which I want to use as well, for the Sony one, so I'm going to try using that as well.
Amazing. So like yourself, like a lot of people nowadays, are just literally just picking stuff up and learning them.
Yeah.
Like you never went formally to college or university, you never studied to orchestrate or anything like that,
No.
and yet you know how to use the language, you know all about the bars and the intervals and the bridges, and you were making me laugh before because you were telling me you had all these names for the sharps and the flats.
Yeah.
So what are they again?
So for the sharps, it's fat boys eat and drink greedily.
Fat boys eat and drink greedily.
So it goes up one sharp every time,
Right.
and then.
That's the flats, isn't it?
Oh no!
That's flats.
That's the flats. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I apologise.
Yeah.
Fat boys eat and drink greedily.
Okay.
So G flat being the worst because that's F sharp.
Oh, okay.
And then you've got go down and enter by force, or go down and enter by whatever.
Something.
And that's for the sharps.
Oh, okay. When did you learn that?
That was my old music teacher taught me.
Oh, really?
And I've never forgotten it, and it's so handy.
Because it's using the mind. Because I remember when I started to play the accordion, I can remember it in Hebrew, but was 1 1 1/2, 1 1 1 1/2. That's the tones. Do re mi, you know, the tones and the sharps on the keyboard. 1 1 1/2, 1 1 1 1/2. I can hear it in Hebrew. Exactly. Because we learn by numbers or word associations and rhymes and stuff like that.
I think it's good for I think it's good for kids to remember stuff. You know, it's easier for kids to remember stuff if they're learning, if they want to learn or whatever.
It is.
It's good for, especially in an exam or whatever. You go, okay, what's this melody in F sharp, and you have to write it, and you know, you go, oh, what is it? Oh yeah. and then you can, you know, right, that's 6 sharp, so that's 7 sharp, you know.
And then
so
you
it's handy.
remember that little rhyme.
It's handy.
And we're going to stop there, and in the third part Francis is going to play something that we're going to be performing tomorrow at the Bath Fringe. One of Piaf's songs, my favourite. If you come to the show you'll see why. Everyone's in tears. And of course it's Hymn L'Amour, which Piaf herself wrote the lyrics for, which is absolutely mind-blowing piece of music. So we'll see you back on the third part of the art show. Thank you. I knew one day I would love again. Le ciel bleu sur ne peut s'effondrer, et la terre peut bien s'écrouler. Oh, m'importe si tu m'aimes, je me fous du monde entier. If the sun tumbles from the sky and the sea suddenly run dry, if you love me, really love me, nothing matters, darling. I won't care. J'irai jusqu'à bout du monde, peindre en blanc si tu me le demandais. Accrocher la lune, voler la fortune si tu me le demandais. Shall I catch a shooting star? Shall I bring it where you are? If you ask me to, I will. You can set me any task, I'll do anything you ask. If you love me still, and at last, when all of life is through, I will spend eternity with you. 'Cause if you love me, really love me, nothing matters, I don't care. Oh, m'importe si problème, mon amour, puisque tu m'aimes. I still believe that love conquers all. Cause if you love me, really love me, nothing matters, darling. I won't care. Thank you and goodbye.